Mindset number 7, winners have a positive attitude. Now, you might be saying, well, duh, don't people preach about that all the time? This is something that I had to learn the hard way. There's an effective way to have a positive attitude, and there's a not so effective way, and I want to show you the difference between the two, because I have a feeling you've been doing it the non-effective way all this time, and that's why you get discouraged. How many times have you read books and they've said, oh, just be positive and everything will work out. Picture it in your mind and everything will just come to be. Have you done that before with little to no success? I will exactly explain it to you so you'll understand it from here on out. Now, the first thing to understand about the positive attitude is this thing right here, and that is thoughts are things. What do I mean by that? Thoughts are actual tangible things. Remember how we were talking earlier, I believe it was in mindset number 5, when we talked about the problems versus the challenges. Okay, problem, when you hear that word, what goes on physiologically in your body? I have a problem. It feels like something that's never going to go away. But if you say, I have a challenge, whoa, all of a sudden you feel a little bit of adrenaline. You're going to challenge me? I'll show you. All it is a word. Understand this right here. Words can heal. Words can kill. If we're saying the wrong things to people, it can put them in such a dark hole that they may never come out of it. However, if we're saying uplifting things to other people, it's amazing what they can do. Take that for yourself, though. If those 1,500 words per minute that are going through your head all the time are saying negative things and bringing you down, they're real. Those things have an effect on you. So understand that. Take control of these words that are going on in your head and get rid of the ones that aren't helping you or not serving you. But let's start with this example here to explain the effective way versus the not effective way. Have you ever planted a garden? And I'm sure most of you have. And let's say that you went out one spring morning and you decided, you know what, I'm going to dedicate this part of my yard here and I want to have a beautiful garden. I'm going to do all the work. I'm going to prepare all the ground. I'm going to go out and plant the seeds, put them all in the rows and everything and make this thing look wonderful. Then I'm going to go in my house for the next 3 months and I will sit in my house and I will ponder over and over again and say an affirmation that I have a beautiful, wonderful garden outside and it will be beautiful at all times and it is going to be spectacular. And that's all you did. How's your garden going to look 3 months from now? Well, after the weeds take it over, of course, it's going to be just totally overrun and the seeds may not even get sprouted out of the ground. Well, what went wrong? You were positive, weren't you? Didn't you go in your house and focus on it and visualize the great garden that's going to happen? Well, again, in this world here, there are things that are real and things that aren't real. The real thing is that you need to tend to that garden. Now, let's say you had the positive attitude and you said, you know what? I'll do everything to prepare this garden. I will plant the seeds. Now, what do I need to do to ensure that this garden will grow properly? Then you go and talk to the experts, people who have done gardens before, people who have been there and done that. Are you starting to see the pattern here? Find people who know what it takes to make things good. Even look in neighborhoods, you'll see some gardens that, of course, within your view. And if you need to, talk to the neighbors. See what they did. See what fertilizers they use. See if they have any special tricks on how far they plant the seeds down. How much water do they put? Because sometimes not putting enough water on there or putting too much water on there can damage your garden. These are all things you can learn from people who have been there and done that. And you commit to being out there once a week to pull the weeds, to water it 3 times a week, to make sure that there's air, that you cultivate the rows there and make sure there's oxygen down to the roots. And you do everything you're supposed to, positively, knowing full well if you take action and do what you need to do, you will then have a spectacular garden at the end of the 3 months. Do you see the difference? Okay. Again, a lot of programs out there will tell you over and over again, all you got to do is think positively. If you don't have the actions with it, nothing happens. Remember how we discussed that in the past as well. Well, let me explain it this way as well. Your subconscious mind is like a computer, or let's just specifically say the hard drive on a computer. All that hard drive is for is to hold files. And that's what your subconscious is for. It's to hold files. Remember how I talked to you before about that everything that you've seen and done and experienced from the time you were born up until now is all stored in all those files in your brain. Okay? Let's do a simple little example here. I want you to just clear your mind for a second and hear me out. I will throw out a bunch of random things, and all I want you to do is notice how quickly they come up. Okay, you guys ready? What does an orange taste like? What does a taco taste like? What does it feel like on a nice warm day outside to feel a warm breeze on your face? What does it feel like to drink an ice cold glass of water on a hot summer day? What is your favorite color? How often do you get out and go exercise? I want you to notice how quickly these things come up, okay? Isn't that cool? Like with the taco. What does a taco taste like? You can even taste it in your mouth. The last time you had a taco. Let's even go further. What about a Taco Bell taco? What about a Del Taco taco? I don't know which restaurants you have in your area, but think of all the different restaurants you go for that taco. You can even taste the different tastes. Well, these are all files in your brain, and notice how quickly they come up. And you'll notice this too from time to time when you'll be asked something, or somebody will ask you something and you think, what is the name of that person? Oh, yes, I've seen them before. But then you kind of just say, oh man, I wished I could remember. But then what happens 2 or 3 days later? Boom, it pops up in your mind. Oh yes, that's the name of the person. Well, all that's happened there, and it's just like your computer when it has a big program, it's searching for a file, and it might take a little bit longer. Your brain works the same way. The conscious mind is more what they call the random access memory, and that's what you're seeing up on the screen there. But all those files are right down there, and they can be accessed very quickly. I like to throw this one out there. What's the name of your 3rd grade teacher? Same thing. If you don't know it right now, just let it settle. The fact that I've asked you that, guess what? Your computer up there will continue to work on it until it pops up. It's pretty cool. And you don't have to even think about it consciously from here on out. Just let it happen. The fact that I've asked you that, what's the name of your 3rd grade teacher? It'll hit you at another time. So just let it happen. Just let it happen. So we become what we think about. This is a quote from one of my favorite motivational speakers. His name is Earl Nightingale. We become what we think about, and it comes from his book called The World's Greatest Secret. And I highly recommend you grab a copy of it and read that. I've learned a lot of things from people over the years. We talked back in mindset number 3 about having coaches. Well, again, these coaches can be a book, as a matter of fact. They don't have to actually be real life people there in your way. It's just people who have been there, done that, and can now help you. So anyway, does that make sense? Okay, so keep that going and just understand this powerful computer with all of these thoughts that you've collected over the years. You now have all this experience that you can take and now do something great with. Well, let's talk about those 1,500 words per minute that are going on in your brain 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. These things, as I mentioned before, you have to do it in a specific way in order for it to take. And these affirmations that you're putting together need to be in what I call positive present tense statements. In other words, it's happening right now. Not something that's going to happen later on in the future, or someday I will be this. No, it needs to be done right now. There's several books out there that'll explain this very concept that I'm discussing right now. There's a book out there called You'll See It When You Believe It. And how many times do we think just the opposite or hear just the opposite? I'll believe it when I see it. No, you got to believe it first in order for it to manifest. So if there's something such as confidence that you want to gain, this little affirmation right here, this I am statement is what I call it. Fill in the blank. Who is it you want to be? I am confident. I am confident. I am confident. I am confident in all the things that I do. And you say that over and over again until your subconscious starts to grab onto it and make it work. I also like to throw this thing out there too. There's been many, many, many research studies on this. It takes more than just a couple of hours of doing this for it to click in, because all of these habits that we have, everything that we've collected up till now, they get ingrained in us, and that record is got pretty deep grooves in it, okay? And so changing this habit, matter of fact, let me throw this out there too. When it comes to habit change, you never can actually get rid of a habit. Now, that's discouraging to some people. However, when I put it in this way, it'll help you make more sense. You never get rid of it. You need to replace it with something else. So, as you're understanding the patterns or the words of those 1,500 that you don't want, replace it with something else. So, if you have a mindset, or you have one of those 1,500 words that is saying, you know what, I'm terrible, I don't follow through on anything, replace that with, I am confident, I follow through on everything. I am confident, I follow through on everything. Here's the other aspect too. It takes on average around 21 days of doing the new thing consistently before it actually grabs and takes hold. I see this happen with people all the time. Brad, I've been doing this for 3 days now and there's no difference. Right. It takes about 21 days. I actually ask people to commit for 30 days to doing the new thing, and just do it over and over again until it starts to kick in. And you'll start to feel some difference usually around the first week. However, you just need to keep reinforcing it. So that's one powerful statement there, the I am statements. Now, sometimes our brains just kind of, when we say something, I am, it kind of feels funny. It'll kind of feel like, yeah, I don't know if I can just become that overnight kind of thing. So here's another powerful phrase here. I am becoming. I am becoming a National Football League player. I am becoming a great basketball player. I am becoming. And that also does the same effect. Okay. Now, why do I say positive present tense statements? Okay. Well, your subconscious mind does not really respond to any negative connotations. Now, let me explain that. Like if I say, don't think of the color blue, don't think of the color blue, don't you dare think of the color blue, what are you thinking of? You're thinking of the color blue, because when our brains are in the formative stages, when we're young kids, we don't understand the word don't or not or, don't do. And so I actually, when I would do a lot of parenting seminars, I would tell parents this concept and help them to understand that when they're telling their kids to do stuff, I'd hear this all the time. I tell my kid to stop playing in the street, or don't play in the street, and they keep going out there. I said, okay, well, listen to what, I'll teach them this strategy here. And then afterwards, I'll say, listen to what you're saying to them. You're saying to them, don't play in the street. Well, guess what they hear? Play in the street. Start telling them to stay in the yard. Hey, the young, son or daughter, stay in the yard. Do that and then come back and tell me what happens. And sure enough, within a week or so, they'll come back to me. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that. Because I'll also suggest things like if they're jumping on the couch, don't tell them don't jump on the couch, because what do they hear? Jump on the couch. So you just tell them, hey, instead of jumping on the couch, jump down and pick up your toys. They'll do one last little jump, victory jump or whatever, get a little, get as far as they can out on the floor, and guess what? They pick up their toys. Just something to realize. The next powerful way to change those 1,500 words is through what I call action statements. This is an example of an action statement. I learn quickly and easily. I learn quickly and easily. This was something too, because I struggled all through high school. Matter of fact, I actually had one of my school counselors just told me flat out I was stupid. I had a real challenge with comprehension. I could read something and it just would not register whatsoever. It was so frustrating. And so getting through my English classes and my history classes and all that were very challenging. And a lot of times it just took having a good relationship with the teacher so they would be patient with me and work with me to get through a lot of those things. I was great with math and sports and all the other elective subjects. However, that was an area where I really suffered. And so later on, when I was asked to, or presented with the concept of going to college, I struggled with that. I hear college is 10 times harder. Why do I want to go there? However, before I started college, I came into an understanding of what I'm teaching you here right now with these action statements. And that very phrase right there is what I said to myself over and over again. I learn quickly and easily. And guess what? All through college, I got straight A's in English and in history. What was the difference? It may simply been that my brain wasn't developed at that point. However, I believe it was something like this, because now I do. I learn quickly and easily. Everything I read, it just jumps out on the page. It jumps up from the page and I understand it completely. And it's a new belief system that I picked up. Here's another one that really helped me out. Here it is. I love myself. Now, sometimes when I ask people, or suggest to them rather, to say something like that, they'll say it and they'll just feel like, oh, well, maybe you understand the challenge you're having right now. If that feels foreign to you, and again, I think a lot of us have been bullied throughout the years and have told ourselves that we're not lovable, that we're not somebody who is deserving of love. And that's just a false statement. So, give this one a shot. If not, there's also a lot of other things that can be said, but I would rather do that on a personal basis. If you would like to, if you need further instruction on maybe helping to come up with a phrase that will work for you, give me a call. And again, all my information is in the show notes, and you can call me at any time, or you can even get on one of our live presentations that I do on YouTube and Facebook and ask the question, because there's a lot of other people out there who would like to know these things as well. So what you're seeing here, these are powerful ways to change those 1,500 words per minute, but they also require upfront thinking and planning. What do I want to change in my life? What do I want to improve on? And the affirmation that you have needs to fit your belief system. Again, there's a lot to this. It's not just as simple as saying some things. However, just ask yourself, who is it you want to become? What is it you want to do? What are your talents? What are your skills? And that's up to you to decide. And I'll always say this till the day I die. The only person that knows what's best for you is you and your higher power. So keep that in mind as well. So let's talk a little bit more. Now that I've told you the positive things to say, let's talk about what I call the negative programming trap. Okay? So these are phrases that go on in our head that we need to be paying close attention to. If you hear those thoughts up there that are saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, that needs to be changed sooner than later. You will very reluctantly ever start anything if that's the phrase that's going on in your mind. Matter of fact, notice this when other people say it. If they say to you, hey, I'm going to do this someday, I'm going to do this, I promise you I'm going to do this. Just watch, just observe, don't beat them up when they don't do it, but just understand what they're saying. In a way, what you're doing there is you're pushing it out to a further date. However, if you want to stop that and you hear that going on in your mind, this is what I do, a strategy that I use, is I say to myself, exactly when I hear that I'm going to do this, I stop and I say, okay, when will I do it? And I make a commitment to myself. Okay, Tuesday sounds like a good day. By what time will I have this done? Okay, noon sounds good. I will accomplish this very thing by noon on Tuesday. I will accomplish this very thing by noon on Tuesday. Do you feel the difference? Versus I'm going to do that sometime next week. I'm going to do that. Even if I say I'm going to do that Tuesday, a lot of times I forget. However, when I make the commitment, I will do it on this day at this time. It's amazing how I will do it. The next little phrase I like you to be aware of is what I just call it the "you are" statement. Be very careful when people are wanting to program you. That's just the easiest way to say it. But we'll have this happen all the time where somebody will come up to us and say something like, doesn't it make you angry when somebody cuts you off on the road? And if you ever have to stop, pause, and think and go, yeah, actually, that does make me mad. What just happened in that little interaction there? Up to that point, that particular thing that they said probably never bothered you. But the fact that you paused and you said, you know what? It does. Now that's on the forefront of your mind, and now you're going to see that all the time. Isn't that interesting? So be careful. and listen for that. Matter of fact, I do this all the time, and if you're around me for any length of time, you'll see that I do this. If somebody comes up to me and says, hey, doesn't it make you angry when somebody does X? I say, no, it doesn't. I block it. No, it doesn't. I don't need it. I've got enough in my life I'm fighting up there that I don't need something else put on my plate there. Anyway, just have some fun with it and play around. Just notice what those words are saying up there and work really hard on getting them changed. Okay, here's something else. Now, I have to give credit where credit's due. I call these non-committal words. However, this model that I'm about to tell you about was actually given to me by one of my coaches that I've had throughout the years. His name's Marshall Silver, Sylver, not S-I. You can look him up, Marshall Silver. He's great. He's a hypnotist, and he was very instrumental in helping me to overcome depression with some of the words that he had said. I had bought several of his tapes and just really got into a lot of the things he's saying. But this little, again, activity that I want to do with you right now, this was very powerful for me. So I want to give him credit for that. So anyway, I call them non-committal words, and you'll understand why I call them that here very quickly. These are words that are used very prevalently in the English language, and yet a lot of times we really don't understand what they mean. The first one, and you guys are going to love this, is the word try. We hear this all the time. We've heard it on Star Wars with Yoda, try you mustn't, do you must, when Luke was trying to raise the ship up out of the swamp, and he was having a hard time doing it. And what did he say? Okay, I'll try. Yoda fires back with no try. Do. There is no try. Well, let's look at some facts here. And again, these research studies that I've discovered, they're pretty powerful and pretty telling. The word try actually has no commitment behind it whatsoever. In fact, only 1 out of every 22 people that use the word try actually follow through. So, if you're having a discussion with somebody and let me give you an example here. You say, hey, you want to go to lunch next week? Yeah, I can try to make it next week. You show up at the time that you thought, guess what? Your person's not there. Just notice. Play around with this and see what happens. You will find this exact thing here that I'm telling you to be true. Only 1 out of 22 people actually follow through by using the word try. So take responsibility, follow up and pin them down. This is what I do. Get a specific commitment out of them. When I ever hear that word try, this is what the conversation looks like. Hey, let's go to dinner next week. Okay, I'll try. Sounds like next week isn't good for you. When would be a better time? This is what happens every time. The person will go, you know what? Next week really doesn't work for me. I've got this and this and this to do. Well, why did they say they would try? There's good intent behind it. I have no doubt about that. What they're doing is wanting to fit it in, but they know darn well they've got a busy schedule. Well, the fact that they say try, they're giving themselves permission to not follow through in a way. Okay? I have this little thing that I do. It's hard to mimic while we're sitting here on camera. However, I will do my best. What I'll do is I'll take a pen or whatever, if I have a slide projector controller, and I'll hold it in my hand. And I'll say, all right, I want you to try to pick this pen up out of my hand. Well, they pick it up, of course. And I say, put it back. You picked it up. Try to pick this pen up out of my hand. Next thing you know, they're hovering over it going, yeah. You either pick up the pen or you don't. Okay? I like to say it this way. Don't use this as a personal crutch. Okay? You hear this all the time from people. Well, I've been working really hard. I tried. Well, if you set out at the beginning of the year and say, I'm going to try to make $50,000 this year, and at the end of the year you don't, what do the people say? Well, I tried. Well, did you? No. There are certain things you need to do in order to make that amount of money. Okay? So there's only certain professions, there's only certain things that you can do in order to produce that. So you need to look at other people who are making the amount of money that you want to make and see what it is that they're doing. Then you have a model to go from. But just to go from scratch and say, I'm going to do my best and try to make $100,000 this year. No, go to people who are making more than $100,000 a year and find out what it is they're doing. And you do those things. You're either doing what it takes to make that type of money or you're not. Do you see the wisdom in that? And so now let's go back to self. If we hear those words up there in our head, I'm trying my hardest. Well, are you? No, you're either doing what it takes or you're not. Okay, work on getting this word try out of your vocabulary. It'll serve you well. Matter of fact, I've even seen research studies on it, and one particular one said it in this fashion. It says, when you use the word try, you're giving yourself permission to fail. All right? Yeah, I'm going to try someday. Again, there's a good intent behind it, but make a commitment with yourself. Do what it takes. Okay, this is something that I found in a school one day, and I don't know who wrote this, and I hope the person that did write it, well, they can call me. But now that I've told you what I just told you, you see this top 10 steps to success. How much success do you think you'll have with that? Anyway, have fun with that. The next word, non-committal word, is the word can't. And you'll hear that all the time with people too. I can't do that. I can't do that. It's impossible. That's not something I can do, or however they want to phrase it. Well, let's look at it this way. This word can't, and this is the best definition, thank you, Marshall, that I've ever seen, is can't actually means you don't know how to or you don't want to. Now let's pick this apart a little bit. This is powerful, okay? Anytime you hear another person say that, and when I coach people personally, I actually do this all the time, and I warn them up front. If they ever come to me and say I can't, I actually fire right back with, well, does that mean you don't know how to or you don't want to? I would rather a person tell me they don't want to. Because what does that mean? That means they're still in power. They're still in charge. If they ever wanted to, they can. They just don't know how to do the thing that they are needing to do, such as meet new people. I can't, Brad. I can't, I just am who I am. No, you either don't know how to do it or you don't want to. You can learn how to reach out to people and have effective communications. You can do that. Okay, now put it back to you. If you hear that in your mind and those 1,500 words a minute are saying that I just can't do this, stop and say, do I want to do this or do I not know how to do it? And if the answer is don't want to, that's okay. Okay, you're taking charge of your thoughts. But now instead of thinking that you have this limitation, know that it's just, I don't want to do it. Makes it simple, keeps you in power. However, if there's anything that you need to learn or you want to learn at some point, yes, you can. If you just take the time to learn how to do it. All right? Next one. And I love this one too, is the word but. Okay? The word but actually negates everything that comes before it. All right? And so let me explain. Let's say, here's a good phrase right here. I'd love to come over, but I'm busy. How many times have you heard that? I'd love to come over, but I'm busy. What we tend to hear is the first part of that sentence. I'd love to come over. So we start to think, oh man, they want to come over. Okay, but what are they really saying? Anything that follows the but is actually what they're wanting to say. I kind of put this in the category of this is just our culture here in America. We don't like to give people bad news. We don't like to say no. However, we use this word but to kind of soften the blow. Ooh, I'd love to come over. I really like what you're cooking for dinner, but I'm just busy. Instead of just saying, you know what, I'm busy tonight. This is not a good night. We have a tendency to do this. All right? So now, what I did was I started to notice this after a while, and this was a big phrase, especially when I was in sales, that I would hear all the time. I want to buy it, Brad, but I just don't have the money right now. Well, I would walk away from that conversation thinking, oh, they like it. They want to buy it. Oh, my gosh. So what I'll do is I'll put it in, well, back in the 80s, we used to call these tickle files. But anyway, we'd write in our Rolodex the person's name and number, and then we'd follow up with them every month, every 2 months to see if they were still interested. And after a year of doing that and having this much success, a big zero, I finally decided, you know what? I need to find a very easy way to find out if they're legitimately interested in this product that I'm selling or not, so that I'm not wasting my time. Because after spending money on gift certificates and movie tickets and everything else to try to persuade them to buy my product, they never did. And so I said, there's got to be a way. Well, then is when I went to one of Marshall's workshops, and he taught me this concept. So what I did was I went back and I started saying it this way. So if somebody would say to me, Brad, I really like your product, but I just don't have the money right now, I would stop them and I would say, if you did have the money tonight, would you buy this? Guess what 90% of people said, 90+%? No, I wouldn't. Thank you. Now I don't have to waste time. I can move on. Okay, here's my card. If you ever change your mind, here you go. I don't have to worry about it anymore. I don't waste time on somebody who's really not interested. However, guess what? 1 out of 10, 1 out of 30, I never really got any concise numbers, but every now and then somebody would say, yes, I really do like it, and yes, I'd like to buy it. Okay, when do you think you'll have money? Well, I have a Christmas bonus that I get every first of every December. Hey, can I call you back 1st of December and talk to you then? Sure enough, I would do that, and they'd buy. But I had the commitment. Are you starting to see why I call these non-committal words? Okay, it's just people wanting to blow you off, blow you away, or blow you off and say, you know what, it's just a kind way to say it. Now, here's something that all of us have heard. Doggone it, I really do love you, but I just want to be friends right now. So anyway, just pay attention. There was one lady that I had told about this particular thing. She called me up a couple of months after the workshop and she says, Brad, I wish you hadn't have told me that. Now I think everybody doesn't like me because no matter what I say, I invite people over all the time and they keep using this but word. I'd really like to come over, but and I'd say, okay, I doubt it's the fact that they don't like you. I doubt that at all, but do this, give this a shot, will you? Next time somebody says that, just say, okay, when would be a good time for you to come over? Just add that in. I'd really like to come over tonight, but I just don't have time. When would be a good time for you to come over? Do that and call me back in 2 weeks and tell me your results. She called me back. I could tell she was grinning from ear to ear. And she said, oh my gosh, Brad, when I give them the opportunity, then to tell them when they're, available, man, they want to come see me. Isn't that great? Right? It's all about communication. Now, let's go to these 3 words here. Why do I say that these are all non-committal words? Well, I'm going to go in a little bit further with these. When you can understand these words for what they really are, and you can take charge of your thoughts with these things, your whole world will change. And you will have, a lot of times when we have stresses when it comes to people relations, it's because of a lack of communication, because we don't understand exactly what they're saying. We just think that they're going to show up when we want them to, and they don't, and we get frustrated. This is a way for you to take charge and to actually get the commitments that you're looking for, and you'll see people will follow through. And I just want to go so far as to say, take charge of the conversations and know what it is that's being said. Take responsibility, rather, for the conversations and understanding what's being said. Okay? So it's just work on these things and do your best to become a try, can't, and but buster. Sorry, Marshall, I borrowed that too. I know. It made me laugh the first time you said it. But anyway, take charge of those words, again, specifically if you're hearing that in your 1,500 words. Just a quick review. If you hear, man, I'm trying, stop and say, okay, am I doing what it takes or not? Okay, if you hear the word can't going on in your mind, do I not know how to or do I not want to? And when I hear, oh man, I'd like to go over to this person's house, but I'm busy. Well, are you busy or do you just not want to go see them? And if there's an issue with maybe somebody that is not good for you, somebody who's been a bad influence on you or something, you may want to relook at even having that relationship, and we can talk about that at another time as well. But anyway, mindset winners have a positive attitude. Hopefully this helps you to understand maybe some areas that you can improve on. You have to couple action with the thoughts. Actions, thoughts. Thoughts, actions. They go hand in hand. So when you have the thought, take the action and you will be successful.